are celebrating half a decade of All Elite Wrestling with the 5th Double or Nothing pay-per-view, and boy do we have a lot to talk about. I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic Wrestling, and I'm here to tell you what's happened at AEW Double or Nothing 2024. Let's do this. Pre-show time, and we kick things off with Thunder Rosa versus Deonna Purrazzo. Thunder, with the Elvis-inspired get-up, actually cooked her some chicken last week. She loves me tenders. Crowd are fired up for both women. Rosa takes control early on, but eats a big boot on the outside as Deonna starts to work Rosa's left arm. Thunder looks to make a comeback, but eats a stiff shot to the jaw from Deonna. Bit more back and forth, both women getting 2 counts, but Deonna ends up reversing an armbar to roll up Thunder and pick up the dub in a bit of an awkward finish that they seemed hesitant to show a replay of. Congrats, Deonna. Dr. Martha Hart and Toni Khan enter next. Martha announces that because the Owen Hart Foundation is in its 25th year, there is a special announcement regarding the 3rd annual Owen Hart Cup. This year, the winners will get world title shots, finals taking place July 10th in Calgary, with the title shots happening at All In. Lovely stuff. Acclaimed versus Cage of Agony now. Max takes a bit of a beating from Khan, getting no offense in at all, but you could tell he really did want to bash the Bishop. Cage and Daddy Ass in next. Things quickly spill to the outside, with the heels laying the smackdown on the babyfaces, but especially Bowens and his poorly leg. 3-on-1 now as they isolate Caster for ages. Max finally manages to make the tag to Billy Gunn, but as he looks for the Faymaster, he gets nailed by Toa and ends up eating a triple powerbomb, but Bowens makes the save with his one leg. Cage grabs a chair on the outside, but Chance the Snake mascot grabs it away, and Daddy Ass manages to roll up Khan to escape with the victory. Main card now, and we're kicking things off with the International Championship bout. Will Ospreay versus the Undisputed Kingdom's Roderick Strong. Hot start as Ospreay attempts a hidden blade, but Strong has it clocked. Willie takes out Taven and Bennett, but they come back quick, and Ospreay gets nailed with a botched dive to the outside, and this is honestly one of the nastiest landings I've seen in quite some time. Seriously scary stuff, but Ospreay somehow manages to continue because he's not a regular human being. Roddy slows things down a little in the ring, working Will's neck and head, but Ospreay comes back following a corkscrew kick, and honestly, the landing at this point doesn't seem to have had any effect at all, which is mental. Wardlow tries to take advantage of a distraction but gets caught. Ospreay hits a sky twister to the outside to take out all of Roddy's buddies. Ospreay, with another dodgy landing, further hurting his knee in the process, goes for the hidden blade but gets caught in a Texas cloverleaf. Some big moves by Roddy, but ends up getting planted with a sit-out powerbomb, and the two end up trading blows. Ospreay ends up hitting the Ozcutter for a 2, but Bryce then has to check on Roddy. Meanwhile, Don Callis tries to convince Will to hit the Tiger Driver. Ospreay shoves Bryce but can't bring himself to do it. However, he still manages it as Ospreay ends up hitting the hidden blade, Stormbreaker, and we have a new international champion. Seriously bonkers match, especially given the horrible landing at the start. Props. Adam Cole makes his entrance next. Oh, hello. Rinses the crowd, says he shouldn't even be here, and then says, "You will give the devil his due and his name," and all of a sudden, the lights go out. A video plays showing a bunch of MJF stuff with a torn photo of Maxwell and Adam, and then his music starts playing, and what a pop! MJF is back. Not only is he back, he's got the bloody Triple H denim leather return combo, beautiful touch there, and I'll tell you what, he is looking jacked. MJF accepts a hug, but kicks Adam right in the ghoulies, brainbuster, and welcome back Max. He grabs a mic, runs down Cole, says that he'll never trust another soul, and he says that he doesn't need a New Japan or a Vince McMahon to make MJF because MJF made MJF. No more BS, MJF is back, and he is driven by hate, hate, hate. He totally buries the mask, that's done with. He drops the elbow, somebody gets a nice souvenir. He shows off a new Bet on Yourself tattoo with the AEW logo in the center and says that he is not flipping leaving. You definitely didn't say flipping. Great return, great promo, great guy. Death Triangle versus the Bang Bang Gang now, and as you can imagine, given the participants, this was pretty full throttle at points, so apologies if/when I missed something. The Guns try to take down Pac, but neither have any luck. Same deal with the Lucha Bros. They both take a beating, and Jay White wants none of what's happening until he finally seizes his moment and drops Pac right on his head as the heels start to target the neck. Pac eventually makes the hot tag to Penta, some lovely dual offense from him and Fenix, some gnarly chops from Jay White to Pac in this one too. Fast forward a bit right to the end, and as Pac goes up top for the Black Arrow, Juice Robinson is back, grabs the leg, Jay White takes advantage, hits the Blade Runner, and scores the win. Welcome back, Juice, you prick. Serena Deeb versus Timeless Toni Storm now, with the women's title on the line. Toni rubs her face in Serena's Deeb's and gets slapped for her troubles, before being tied up and drop-kicked right in the arse. Toni with the hip attack, but Deeb starts wearing the champ down with submission holds, Toni with a rather unique rope break here. Heaps of pinfall attempts before Toni nails a headbutt and both women go down. Toni with a DDT into the Fisherman's Suplex, but still can't put Serena away, same deal with the Texas Cloverleaf. Bunch of reversals, more slaps. It did feel like Toni was rocked at one point, moving at half speed. Things weren't quite flowing as smoothly as they were before. Mariah perhaps senses this and looks to throw in the towel, but Luther stops her. Toni lobs the towel into the crowd, gets Serena back in the ring. Toni ends up hitting Storm Zero, but can only manage a 2. A pair of detoxes by Serena can't do it, and Toni ends up hitting a brutal top rope pile driver, and then another one for good luck, and that is finally enough to end things. And still, Trent Beretta versus Orange Cassidy now. Trent enters first, Orange Cassidy's music plays, but there's no sign of him until his old theme, Pixies, Where Is My Mind, starts, and there he is! Biggest return of the night, that. Sorry, MJF. The two go straight at it with the hockey punches, big blows by both men. They end up scrapping at ringside, with Trent showing his frustration as he gouges at the eyes of Cassidy, then targeting the throat. Trent just playing dirty throughout here. Every time OC tries to get a bit of momentum going, Trent nails him with something big and stops it dead, coming across as proper sinister as he does so. OC puts his hands in his pockets, but Trent just starts wailing on him. OC finally managed to get some offense in, but gets cut off with a pile driver on the apron by Beretta. Trent then tries for one on the ring steps, but gets pulled off and hit with a beach break on the outside. Back in the ring, each man reversing the other's big moves. They know each other too well until OC hits another beach break for the 2. Trent ends up catching OC in a Goga Plaza, but it gets reversed and Cassidy manages to pick up the win. Then, as Trent's leaving, Renee tries to get an interview, but Trent says he's not doing this and he shoves Rocky Romero and leaves through the crowd. Honestly, I would have much preferred a win for Trent here, especially on such a big stage, but interested to see where this one goes, as it clearly isn't over yet. FTW title triple threat time as Jericho defends against Hook and Shibata. Jericho goes straight after Hook, but gets chopped by Shibata, and both men get laid out with suplexes. More of them to come. Out comes a table. Both Hook and Jericho almost go through it, but manage to narrowly avoid the wood. Jericho gets a bag of dice from under the ring, and then Jericho eats a couple more big suplexes onto them before a bunch are lobbed at him for good measure. More suplexes on the dice for both challengers follow. Each man grabs a kendo stick. Hook and Shibata no-sell Jericho's shots, then Jericho gets absolutely battered. Jericho gets suplexed on the dice again, then laid on the table, and then Hook ends up driven into Jericho, but I am the table! Awkward. Jericho then gets thrown through the table in an improvised spot. Shibata locks in a double submission, but Hook wriggles free and breaks it. Codebreaker out of nowhere, but Hook kicks out. Looks for the Judas effect, but Hook locks in Red Rum, and here comes Big Bill to ruin everybody's fun. FTW rules, it's all legal. Unlucky though, he gets driven through the table on the outside. Great spot, but Jericho locks in the walls, countered, and Shibata with a figure 4 as Hook locks in a submission of his own. Then, all of a sudden, a masked man comes out and Brian Keith has made his presence felt, and that allowed Jericho to hit the Judas effect on Hook and cover a human bin in Shibata for the win. Afterwards, Hook tries to get to Jericho. Y2J calls all the security out. Hook lays him out, but Y2J has pegged it. Moxley versus Takeshita now, and if Takeshita wins, he will get a future shot at the IWGP World title. Moxley is fighting with one arm here, and predictably Takeshita immediately targets the injured limb, and that is very much the story of the match. Konosuke just exposing the arm, working on it in a variety of inventive ways. Moxley keeps trying to make a proper comeback, but that's easier said than done when you've only got one working upper appendage, eh? And really, it's not often that you see Moxley on the back foot like this, and Konosuke does not hold back at all. He hits him with a big move, works the arm, rinse, repeat, just great stuff. Moxley hits a cutter, but once again, straight back to the injured arm. However, Mox will not give up. I guess one good thing about having a knackered arm is that it makes you 50% less likely to tap out. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. Moxley with a desperation lariat, then soon after just about manages to nail the paradigm shift, but further hurts his arm in the process. Takeshita hits the power drive knee, but only manages to. Moxley starts choking him with the bandage, but gets caught by the ref. And then Takeshita hits Moxley with his own Death Rider finisher, but still only manages to. Bonkers. Directed by Don Callis, Konosuke starts lobbing chairs in the ring, and Rick Knox is just chucking them out of the other side, and then Mox plants him on a chair, a Death Rider of his own, and Mox has done it. Honestly, really wanted Takeshita to pick up the win here. I think he could have done with it, but still a great match, and it was unlike anything else on the show. And now potentially the match I had been most excited for, and it did not disappoint. Barbed wire, steel cage, Brood Copeland versus regular Spooky Black. Please look away if you are squeamish. Weapons fill the ring, and they start with a bit of a duel with the steel chairs before Cope starts gathering barbed wire from the side of the cage, then driving it into the face of Malakai. I mean, we knew there would be blood, but this quick? Love it. Copeland hits the impaler, misses a spear, and gets sent face first into the top turnbuckle. Malakai then gets the barbed wire bat and grinds it into Copeland's already bloody forehead. Malakai misses a bat-cherto, whatever, and takes a few bat shots for his trouble. Adam gets crotched on the top rope, allowing Malakai to hit a beautiful powerbomb through the wood, but it's not enough. Malakai sets up for the end, but eats a spear, and that's not enough either. Copeland then lays Malakai on a table, wraps him in the barbed wire, and then goes up top, like top of the cage top. He nails an elbow drop, but honestly, he took the brunt of it on his ankles. A rough landing for a 20-year-old, let alone somebody who is half a century old. Copeland goes for another spear, but gets caught with the end. Malakai then trying to stab Cope, but thankfully missing and piercing the mat. Malakai then nails a kick, which sends Copeland out through the door, but you can only win via pinfall or submission. Spear on the outside, and then out come the rest of the House of Black, but they're not on Malakai's side anymore. Oh, yeah, they are. Back in the ring, Copeland is wrapped in barbed wire, a crown of barbed wire placed on his head, but just as he's about to get his noggin kicked off, out comes WWF Attitude Era superstar Gangrel through the ring. Hey, I remember him. Do you? A couple of impalers take Brody and Buddy out, down goes Gangrel, then Edge locks in a barbed wire assisted crossface to win it, with Malakai passing out and Cope getting his ring back after the fact. A great match, which I really do think speaks volumes about how much Copeland values Malakai as a pro wrestler, given the stuff that he was willing to do with him. Lived up to some pretty high expectations and then some. Don Callis says he'll be offering a contract to join his family given what he saw in the OC versus Trent match. Let's see how that turns out. But now it's time for the AEW in-ring debut of Mercedes Moné as she takes on Willow Nightingale for the TBS strap. Awesome entrance for Mercedes, huge pop as expected for Willow, and a fair bit of heat for Moné. Willow charges at Mercedes, but Mercedes dodges, taking control when she lures Willow back into the ring. Some big slaps from Mercedes, big chops from Willow, and Mercedes eats a powerbomb on the apron soon after, followed by a big German back in the ring. Mercedes then starts targeting the champ's ankle, wearing her down with strikes and submission holds. Mercedes hits the backstabber for 2, Willow with an ankle lock of her own, then nails a huge tackle to take Moné down, followed by a massive spinebuster. Mercedes keeps going back to the ankle, but Willow returning the favor, dropping Moné's ankle on the apron. Bit more back and forth, lots and lots of ankle-based offense, as I've made quite clear already, followed by a Meteora by Mercedes for another 2, then another on the outside, then she shoves Chris Statlander. Oh, she's horrible. Willow hits the Babe with the bomb for a visible 3, but just a 2 when Aubrey finally makes the count. Mercedes countering the second, she locks in an STF, but Willow gets to the rope. Fast forward about a minute and Mercedes nails the Moné Maker to pick up the win and the TBS title in her in-ring debut as the crowd boo their little hearts out. Stokely wasn't best pleased with the result and gets shoved for his trouble. Then, out of nowhere, Chris Statlander throws Willow down on the ramp and then plants her as Stokely watches on smiling. A predictable match result, obviously, but I'm glad to see that they've quickly set up something new for Willow, as she's one of the most natural babyfaces in All Elite Wrestling. AEW World Title time in the penultimate match of the night. Brilliant Warriors-inspired entrance by Swerve, who is taking on the disgustingly brilliant Christian Cage. Starting with a few lockups, Christian getting the upper hand on the first, Swerve on the second, but it soon gets pretty scrappy. Christian gaining the advantage when Swerve misses an aerial maneuver and hits his face on the barricade, with Christian slowing things down and healing it up every chance he gets. Bit of interference from the outside helps Cage, but Swerve just keeps on coming back, later blinding Christian with his shirt and laying in the neck breakers. I am Cornholio, I need TP for my bunghole. Double down and Mother Wayne grabs the world title, but Prince Nana takes it off her and the stupid idiot referee ejects the wrong manager. Ridiculous. Christian then dumps Swerve out as Killswitch and Nick Wayne start battering the champ, and it's all that stupid referee's fault. Then while the referee is distracted, Christian takes advantage, but it backfires and Swerve takes out everybody, but soon eats a spear for a really decent near fall. Finally, the ref realizes what's going on and chucks the rest of the patriarchy out of there. Great ref, I love that guy. Later on, Christian takes an absolutely brutal Swerve stomp on the apron, then Swerve collides with the ring steps that he earlier set up. Then, as Christian removes the turnbuckle, out comes Nick Wayne again to lay out Swerve. Christian hits the kill switch for an awesome 2 count, then out comes Nana to chase Nick Wayne off. Another brutal stomp on the announce desk this time, brilliant sequence, then Swerve avoids the spear, hits the knee, one more stomp and a kick for good luck, and that is your lot. Great match. Main event time, and it's the Elite versus Team AEW in Anarchy in the Arena. Things start as they mean to go on as Team AEW interrupt Jack Perry's entrance, and the scrapping begins as Darby Allin's music rings out. Right, listen, these are always absolutely bonkers and near impossible to follow, and it's going to take me about an hour to go through everything that happened. So let's do a highlight reel, shall we? Here are just some of the best bits. Matthew Jackson cutting off Darby's music to play their new theme music. Then Bryan Danielson cutting off that song for the final countdown. Amazing and the perfect soundtrack to this battle. Dax Harwood getting the Jaegers in. Darby with an insane coffin drop as expected. Matthew Jackson then cutting the song due to budgetary constraints. Amazing. Jack Perry's ice bath, yes, it's real ice. Jack Perry driving a van into a pile of rubbish and I think killing Darby Allin? What the hell? FTR's spike pile driver on the apron and the subsequent near fall. Dax biting Okada's finger because why the hell not? Darby being alive after all. That's gotta be a highlight, right? Darby not being alive again after this bump on the chairs and his descent down the trap door. The TK driver on the poker chips. The insane senton from Nick Jackson. Darby being alive again and setting fire to Jack Perry to save Tony Khan. An exploding steel chair just for the lols. The thumbtack rainmaker. Darby getting his protective mask removed, then getting hung up like a little emo herring, then super kicked with the thumbtack covered Reeboks. And honestly, there was so much more. This is a match that you absolutely need to see. Just bonkers stuff. So the finish finally comes when Bryan ends up making a comeback, nails a chair-assisted running knee, but he ends up taking all the finishers, and that finally is your lot. All while Darby is still just hanging around. Absolute insanity from start to finish, and my word, what a show, eh? Thanks for watching.